if there's anything that either of you have kind of thought about that might be an innovative way or something just to do differently to really accelerate the industry, or even some sort of government incentive that could help the rollout of EVs. Is there anything that's really ever stood out to you guys, or you've seen work well?
Well, I mean, I was disappointed to see that we couldn't keep the federal tax credit for the brands that really help move EVs, being Tesla.
The early movers.
Yeah, and GM, frankly, they got screwed there too.
Totally, both of them did.
Yeah, and so I will say I come back to just keeping the conversation simple in the sense of what are we seeing from average people, and I still am for all the money that's been spent on trying to get awareness up and talk to people about products and everything else, I still think the wrong questions or the wrong solutions are being put out for questions that aren't being asked. People, they understand what cars are. They don't know they have a fuel choice. We need to make it very, the UC Davis study to me shines a bright light on, you can build as many charging stations as you want, but if consumers don't realize they can take advantage of it and they understand it with trust, they won't be buying the car that uses them. And so I think that is still, to me, one of the biggest hurdles out there. Because there's some damn good EVs out there that still sit on a lot for too long because dealers don't know how to sell them and consumers don't even know how to take advantage of them.
Yep.
So.
I have 2 points. One of them largely echoes Matt's piece surrounding marketing. And that's that there aren't enough advertising dollars spent on EVs. Like just, I don't watch TV or listen to the radio that often, but I can't tell you how many times I hear an ad for so-and-so dealership or, the new F-1000. And I just don't hear that often for compelling EVs, which should change. Like just advertise cool products more, plain and simple. That will help sales. The other point I want to make here, actually come back to me on this, Chase.
Well, I think that totally makes sense where you come from, where just the awareness. I think it's always going to be hard to advertise something that's kind of a meh product. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I think we're coming out with more and more great products that don't really require much advertising because people are finding out about them. Mm-hmm. And if you have that great product, it really is kind of, I guess I was going to say dump fuel in the flames, probably the wrong analogy, but like really accelerates what people are hearing about and what people are talking about. Well, and part of the reason I realize it's kind of an open and broad question, but part of the reason I ask is I hear it a lot of times people ask like, well, what can government be doing or what can manufacturers be doing that's different? And I really think it's not that crazy of an answer. It doesn't really require, I think it's exactly what you just said, Matt, where it's really having just the right things in front of the right people and having that education. And if we can get to a 150 kilowatt fast charging more quickly and beyond, not farther beyond, it's going to make it a lot easier for everyone.
Well, I think the hard part too for automakers, the OEMs, is people always asking, why don't I see ads from GM or even Nissan or whomever about their EVs? And at the end of the day, they have relied on the fact that consumers, the early adopters, have been self-educating. And for them to invest any amount of money into marketing a product that they are not themselves capable of training their dealers to sell, they're not going to spend a penny on it. Mm-hmm. So that's just business. If they're like niche product, we made it, we were mandated, Zev, God, whatever, we'll put it in the market. And the dealers are like, the people that show up here, they talk circles around us about these things. We don't know what to do. The automakers have just defaulted to that. But the problem they're now having is that EVs are becoming a mainstream conversation because of brands like Tesla, Rivian, and others. And so the expectation is that they can talk about it, but they still don't have a product that really competes. Most of them don't. But then still, they're just looking at it going, how do we talk about our brand differently? It's a car. It's a Porsche. It's a Chevy. How do we talk about ourselves differently? And that's because they don't sell fuel. They need somebody else to take that mantle.
Matt, you've created an entire business around simplifying a concept to make it easier to do something. The other thing that I was thinking of that would really help EV sales a lot is if you could make the federal tax credit a point of sale tax credit. You have to have people with large tax liabilities who are smart, are good at math, and understand the nuances of tax code to really fully take advantage of that. People like us have done it in many cases multiple times. Yeah. Government's going to give you free money, I'll take it. Yeah. But for a lot of people who, the difference of $7,500 at the point of sale for the car is the difference between them being able to afford it or not, even if they get it back when they file their taxes in January. If you could make that credit, and that's incredibly complicated to do. I'm not a tax professional. I don't propose to have a solution to this by any stretch. But if you could make the federal tax credit a point of sale tax credit, I guarantee that would bump EV sales 10 to 20% immediately.
I think how you position that is 100% right, because GM that does not have it anymore, they've been giving $8,500 off Bolt at basically every dealership, and their volume of sales immediately peaked.
People have said that the Kona or the Niro is a better EV than the Bolt, and the Bolt is outselling it like crazy for exactly that reason.
Sure. Yeah. No, there's truth to the money talks element of like, yeah, but then it's the educational factor, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, the Niro charges faster than the Bolt. The Kona charges faster than the Bolt, but they're like, hey, I'll just take it because it's almost 10 grand off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, sure, I'll figure out the charging later. I mean,
money talks. I mean, the Kona might be their second EV after they get rid of the Bolt in however many years, but GM does get a slice of the pie earlier.
No, and again, to the credit of that, it's moving more vehicles to the market. Used vehicles then get trickled down into used market. Yep. Then people that may not have bought a $40,000 EV can buy a $20,000 one.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's kind of the issue I have with it is like I think EVs to really take off. Obviously, the money for brand new cars is great. It just doesn't translate well to where most cars are sold, and that's the used car market.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that California did with allowing EVs to be on the HOV lanes. Obviously, there's stipulations with that, but that means it's valid for all EVs. It's not you need a brand new one. And I think the more we can kind of, if government's going to play more and more of a role in it, I think it kind of needs to be more of those easier to implement carrot ideas versus the regulations, because it's just going to keep it being more politicized and take longer to really get all the stuff to the right people.
Bolt residuals have been super strong. I mean, like you're hard pressed to get a used Bolt that's really a better deal than a new one in some cases. So I do agree that just the more long range compelling EVs we have on the marketplace, the more they're going to be available to more people. But, they're Volkswagen and Hyundai are just now ramping up. But beyond that, it's just GM and Tesla. And those cars are still pretty expensive, even on the used market.
Oh, definitely.
People want them.
Exactly. Yep. And that to itself could be its own conversation. But I think at that point, if people are still listening to this, we're going to wrap it up. So I just want to say thanks to Matt and Wade for your time today and having these really interesting discussions.
Thanks for hosting, Chase.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.